to another episode of Coffee is Conversation and Keeping It Real. This is your host, Trina George.
Hi, I'm Trina George. I own Sensible Senior Services, and the other host, Philip Marcel.
Thank you. And we're here with my guy. We go way, way back.
Yes,
like
we
a
do.
little brother to me, A.D. Roberts. Thank you for coming on, my friend.
No,
man.
no problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
As soon as you told me, you asked me to come on, it's no problem. So, yeah, I'm just glad to be here.
Sweet, man, sweet. We got a lot to cover with you, man, because you have a lot going on. I know we've talked about some stuff, projects and stuff and things you have coming, and we're going to get into all of that for sure.
Okay.
And so, like a few years ago, before you came back to Gainesville, though, I noticed you were doing a podcast.
Yes. Actually, I had
a media company.
Too. Well, that's what happened. So I was doing like online radio. I had like a morning show. And then I started learning about podcasts, just being in the area of New York and New Jersey. Yeah. You're learning about different media realms. And, I started getting into podcasting. I was trying to get the radio station I was working for to do it. They didn't see it or what it could be. I was noticing.
Like as far as the show that you had, the idea you had, you was like, hey, this.
Yeah, or just podcasting in general. And I was like, we could rent out.
Oh, they weren't doing it at all?
No, you could use the studio for to rent out as podcasts. People do podcasting. They, wouldn't budge on it. So I got my own equipment. Actually, I started with an iPhone 6 at the time.
Right.
So I just started with an iPhone 6 and I learned how to edit my audio. Yeah. Learn how to put it out using like websites, WordPress or Blurberry or something I was using.
So that would involve you to put music in it and do all kinds of
code it and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just went to YouTube, YouTube University, and I learned how to do that. And then my aunt helped me get some equipment. Some microphones, some stands, and then my uncle let me use the garage.
Salute, auntie, salute.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And then my uncle let me use his garage. And the first podcast I started was called The Platform.
Oh, for real?
And it was pretty much me doing interviews with local artists, local entrepreneurs,
giving them a platform.
That's why. So, and then at the end of the show, I would play a song from somebody I knew who had a music video. Yes. So we put that on the end of it. And then that turned into funny story about that actually. I had a co-host. Yeah. I did it at first by myself. Then I met someone who I interviewed and then she was like, yo, I would like to do this with you. I was like, yeah, I could actually use a co-host, to help me come up with content and all that stuff. Yeah. So she started helping. We did a couple episodes and then I came to the garage, our set, to start, and she texted me like, I can't do it anymore. I'm out. Like that was it.
For real?
Yeah. So it was me, my nothing.
Warning.
Nope. So it was me, my two my two camera crews. My two camera guys, and just a friend of mine who was just in the garage, and we was like, what were we gonna do? And I was like, you know what? I've thought about making this a web series. So what if you guys just film me? We come up with some content real quick. Right. We kind of make a pilot of it. And we do it like a music video show where it's just me. And they were like, do you need a background? And I was like, well, the garage can be the background. Right. That could be the set. So then we kind of, spun that into a web series where I would play 10 music videos instead of just one. Yeah. And I would talk about, pop culture and things like that in the in-betweens. Then I met a DJ who was a lesbian. And she introduced me to a guy who was gay. So then I got the idea to do a podcast called Two Gays and a Straight.
Huh.
Yeah.
It comes together. Look at the keyboard.
Yeah. So it was me as a straight guy, a lesbian and a gay guy. And we would just talk about.
I feel like this podcast should still be going on.
Me too, but the DJ, she got too busy, and then the gay guy was Jason. He just was doing so much, and then they started getting into other things. So it was just like they had to pull away from it, which was around the time I was gonna move back anyway. So I wish them all the best. If they were to contact me right now and was like, hey, we want to do it, I would bring that back because we had some some good times doing that podcast. Yeah, it was fun
Yeah,
times.
it's very diverse.
Yeah,
Man.
I want to do it again eventually. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
find someone else,
Yeah.
or 2 other people. But yeah, it was a good start for that.
So unique.
Yeah, yeah. I just came up with it. I don't know how, but and then the cover art was like the bathroom insignias on the signage. So it was a
Right,
male,
right.
a female, and then an alien. So then I was the alien.
He was the alien.
Yeah, and I did a great job marketing it. I went to Pride,
Yeah.
the Pride Parade,
Yeah.
and just gave out flyers and like 2 or 3 T-shirts.
Guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, that's all I could
yeah.
afford at the time. So
Right.
I got the listeners up, and then the dynamic between the 2 of them was just so wild
Mm-hmm.
that it allowed everything to just work. If that, like, they were just unfiltered.
Right, right.
So
right.
it was a very, very fun time. But we had to, I would say, postpone it. For the interim. So
Yeah. How often did you release an episode of that?
I usually do weekly.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the platform came out on a Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think 2 Gays came out, I want to say Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did research on like the podcasts I would listen to and the popular ones, and I was
Right.
trying to release on the days they weren't releasing,
Right, right.
like
right.
a day before, maybe a
Oh.
day after, something like that.
So you had to do some research on your
Yeah, got research.
Because I know I've been picking your brain about our podcast
Yeah,
going on
yeah,
here,
yeah.
just because I know you just have experience.
Mhm.
And then even so you're doing the podcast,
Mhm.
right? So even in that, the radio stations they really wasn't.
No,
they
it was
still
2.
wasn't.
I had 2 stations, and one station actually let me do my podcast,
Yeah.
and they just wouldn't see it. And I was like, yo, this is an extra revenue stream that you could
Yeah.
use for your station, for your studio.
Right. Right.
And I guess they didn't just have the foresight to to see it. But that's when I got the idea to actually a friend of mine was like, why don't you just make your own podcast company or media
Right,
company?
right.
It's like, huh. All
And
right.
around what year was that happened?
I would say
Like how was Upsouth Media born?
Okay, so first, funny story. It was actually like Upsouth Music first,
Oh.
right? So it was me and a friend, and we was in a group chat, and I was like, "Yo," I was feeling like Diddy at the time, and I was like, "I need a name for a label." This was like 2015, I want to say, and a friend of mine was like, "Well, you live up north, and you're from the south. Just call it Upsouth." And I was like, all right, we'll use
Yeah.
that. So I got the the logo made, and that spun from, because I got tired of doing music.
Right.
That spun into like media, because I wanted to be able to cover all realms of the spectrum, to be honest.
Yeah, like what in regards
Like if I wanted to do music, I could.
Yeah,
If I wanted to do marketing, I could. If I wanted to do
True.
podcasting, I can. Documentaries. I'm a doc jock. I love documentaries.
Or
So we're going to make one
Yeah.
eventually, but I just needed something to encompass all of that, throwing the events, like that
Right.
kind of stuff.
yeah,
I knew that if I just named it media, it gave it a more broad thing, so
Yes.
it could be a brand of anything, to be
yeah,
honest.
you can leverage it against everything.
Yeah.
Everything you want to do.
Yeah.
All those ideas, and it wouldn't be like off-putting or weird
Yeah.
when it comes to
Yeah.
he's doing this now.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
yeah, Upsouth Music.
that
Why are you
just
doing a
kinda makes
podcast?
sense in the media
Exactly.
around this project. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
With the podcast, did you have people coming to you like wanting to come on the show?
Yeah, at first, everybody was like, "What is the podcasting thing?" But because I did such a good job, like blowing it up, like
Right.
and just making it seem like it was the best thing ever,
Right.
and showing, what really happened is I showed like the behind the scenes, like the bloopers, I guess,
Right.
the B-roll of us just
Yeah.
having fun in the garage,
Right, right.
because we'd be there for hours trying to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
It took me a good, I would say, a good year of just research and learning before I actually started the podcast. So when I started, I used my background from going to school, business and marketing, and a certain look I gave it, and then people would reach out. But it wasn't always like that. I had to reach out first,
Right.
of course.
Okay.
Hey, I'm doing this, like come through. But the thing that people gravitated toward was the platform thing, because I was working with someone to help get their stuff out there. So
Right,
it
right.
enticed them to help me as much as I was helping them.
Helping them.
Yeah. So if I did an artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's an artist I interviewed. Her name is Fuzz Rico. She's in California now, making music with the likes of K Camp and Kid Ink and all that now.
Yeah.
And she took like my podcast and was like, "Yo, check this out. Like, listen to this because I'm on this episode," and people started paying attention to that.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so
we can do that with ours. We got AD Roberts on.
Yeah.
Leverage our stuff.
yeah,
Oh,
this
man.
is definitely something.
That's why we're going live.
Yeah, this is something else that I've been trying to tell people to do who do podcasting. In New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have these studios and these houses where, if we're doing a podcast like this, the person next door might be doing a podcast. They might walk in the session, say hi, and they'll let them promote their podcast on their platform. Like it's such a camaraderie with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we don't, that's something I haven't seen here. And there's a lot of people doing podcasting. So they don't have to be in the same building, but they should, or we should all be in the same network because at the end of the day, exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's just going to help us as a whole.
Yes.
The podcast I do now is different than this. So I don't have any quarrels with saying, yo, you know what I'm saying? I'm here.
Right.
And this is something you need to check out. Not just because I'm here. Check it out before I got here and after I was here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the same thing, vice versa, So I think we need to do a better job, all of us, as promoting ourselves, putting each other out there, to the world. So
yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like, what are other ways? What are some other ideas you have in that as far as?
One is a networking event, and then spin it into a convention. Just for podcasts in general.
I really like the convention thing.
Yeah.
Like have guest speakers and that sounds
maybe
awesome.
we get somebody from who has a decent podcast. I'm not saying we can get Joe Rogan yet, but we get someone who has done it and is being successful at it and living off of their podcast.
Right.
And we have them speak, and we have up and comers speak, or we have a panel, and we have think tanks and all kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, if you put creative people in a room with each other, something good is going to happen for everybody. That's how I feel, at least.
Right.
So
that's cool, man. That's cool. And you mentioned living off the podcast. Right now we're doing it. We're scratching our own itch.
Yeah.
Because
Same
these
here.
are conversations. This podcast came about because conversations that we've had over the years in networking and stuff with business owners and stuff. And we see a lot of I consume podcasts. Trina consumes podcasts.
Yeah.
A lot.
Me too. More than music now.
And we see, millionaires who have made it or are successful interviewing other millionaires a lot of times. But we made this to kind of talk with people who are in the muck and the mire, trying to get their careers going with their businesses. And so, but it's like, it's fun now. It's not, we try to film it and produce in a way that it doesn't feel like a job, so it stays fun. But I don't know, what if it does catch fire at some point?
You mean when it catches fire?
I like that.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be fake humble.
I love hearing why people do what they do. I love sharing my story, and I want to hear other people's stories because everybody does what they do for a reason. They don't just walk into it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do this one because I didn't grow up in the best situation. So, and it's a big reason I wanted to come back and move here and do what I was doing here at home.
Right.
To do what I love with the people I love.
Yeah. Talk about that. Like,
okay, so
the situation.
Yeah, me moving back, people think, and I'm gonna clear the air because what happened was I just put in the air that I was gonna move back before last summer, and then I moved back, and then I got a job working with the radio stations, right? So everybody thought like it was just this boom, boom, boom thing. Right. But I had this plan for like a year and a half of I'm going to move back. I want to get this job. I said, actually, I started working for the company I work for August 12th. The year before, I had put that I wanted to start working for the radio station in Gainesville. So the year to the date, I put on, how you have the Time Hop app.
Yeah.
And it shows you. So a year to the date I got hired was the date I said I'm going to get a job with the radio station.
Oh wow!
So that is
so this
that means something.
Yeah. So it means I'm supposed to be here, at least for now.
Right.
So the whole thing was, I was doing everything in Jersey and in New York.
Yeah.
I was having a great time. I met some wonderful, wonderful people.
Right.
But the thing was, certain walls and certain, barriers were put up because I wasn't there. I wasn't from there. You're always going to go to where you're from first, or you're going to associate with, the people who knew where you grew up. But because I wasn't from there and I just had the hustle, people still, would work with me because of that.
Right.
But it was still some,
Yeah. And how long have you been up there before you started, because you were up there for a minute.
Oh, yeah, I was up there a good 10 years.
Started the media company. A good 10 years before.
Well, it was
Upsouth
it was
came
9,
along.
I would say 9 years.
9
years before I decided to get into it. And it was my first school. So that took,
that's right,
that took 4 years. And then I just I'm not going to lie, I bounced around. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
I had, I went to school for business, and I was doing a little bit of construction. So I know how to build a house and all that stuff, but it just, that started to hurt. And it was just, I don't know. It was
Hurt
just,
in what way?
Physically?
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Doing construction.
I bet he did.
Yeah. So, and I played basketball in college.
That's right.
So, my knees were already,
taking a beat,
what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
it was just getting to a point where I was just I was spinning my wheels, and actually I moved back here in 2015 for half a year, 6 months, I think. And I had a job at Mercedes, and I was bored.
Wow.
It was a great gig,
right,
but
right.
being a salesman at Mercedes, it was I'm 25 at the time. It's I don't know, this can't be it.
Yeah.
So then some friends of mine were like, yo, why don't you just move back up here? And I had no place to stay up there. So they were like, you could just, one of my friends, she was like, you could stay with us. We have an extra room. And I was like, I don't know. Because when I left, I had an apartment and everything.
Right.
And actually, what made me move back was I had a job with Verizon in their marketing department.
Right.
And I
Up in New York.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I got laid off. So that was my first corporate job. I had a car, the apartment, the girls, the whole nine. And I got laid off.
Yes.
And I was like, wow. Nobody warned me for corporate mergers and all that stuff.
It came to a screeching halt.
Yeah,
huh?
not even you have 2 weeks. It was I walked in a Friday, I didn't have a job on Monday. That kind of thing. It was a bunch of us.
Ooh.
Our office got shut down. So.
And Verizon.
Yeah, so I was
which is doing well.
Yeah. We were not making numbers, and I was getting a nice little bonus, and I had just bought this super nice car. And
so even when the company is doing well.
Yeah, well, what happened was, from what I was told, my general manager was mismanaging funds. And they had to, instead of just cutting him loose, they cut all of us loose. But they gave me the option to move to Washington State or something. And I'm I'm not going there.
Yeah.
It rains all the time. So I'm
Right.
let me go home. And I came home that 6 months to regroup. Then I got a real estate license. That's when I came up here. When I went back to Jersey, I started coaching. Used that money, got a real estate license. Started getting
coaching basketball.
Yeah. Started getting into real estate. And then a friend of mine asked me to come do a radio interview about black business because I was an entrepreneur in a sense with real estate.
Right.
So I went, and after the interview, the owner of the station was there. He was like, "Hey, you got a radio voice." And I thought he was calling me ugly because you know how you say,
"Oh yeah, that's
you know, you got a face for radio." I'm like,
I've
"Yo,
been told that often." Wait a minute.
Yeah, what are you trying to say? And he was just like, "No, you have a very auditory voice."
Right.
All right. So what are you saying? He's like, "Well, could you come back once a week and do a business segment or something for the morning show?" And that spun into me doing the morning show with my co-host, and that turned into, we had a morning show called Q&A in the morning. So my name was A and she was the Q.
Oh.
Yeah. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Because it was on TuneIn, the radio app, people here could listen to it.
Right.
So I marketed it between here and New York and New Jersey.
Smart.
So it caught a little steam, and then that's how I got introduced into that. So when I started on it, it was oh man, you know how you just have this, I don't know what happened. It was just this, when I sat down to do the interview, he was like, "You may be nervous, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Just talk through it." And I got there and I was just at peace.
For real.
I felt like I was at peace.
Yeah.
And once I started doing the morning show, You know, it was like, he gave me warning. You got to get up at like 4 a.m. because it's from 6 to 10 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, like, let's do it. And once I started doing that and it was no problem, I was like, okay, I need to do something with this. This is something I need to do. So then I started reading up and studying, and because I didn't go to school for like broadcasting or journalism or anything, not even for this. Yeah. So I just picked it up, and I just fell in love with it, and I was like, you know what, I want to do this for like ever. Yeah. So that's yeah. So I just thought about, you know, different ways that I could do that, and podcast idea came, and then that spun into the Upsouth Media idea, and then that spun into me wanting to do that here to give platforms to, you know, people here in where I'm from. You know what I mean? So it was all like a snowball effect, and I mean, that's how I ended up back here. So
now, were there any reservations? Because, you know, moving a business and stuff like that.
I had a lot of reservations.
It's huge.
Yeah, but
you know, so it's like, what were some of those?
Yeah, I've even had people like, yo, you're gonna leave like here, like the media capital of the world, to go to Florida, blah blah blah. But then I looked at the grand scope of things, and I'm not like a religious person at all, but I'm super spiritual. So I listen to like, you know, I believe in a higher power, and I believe in the universe will tell you, give you signs, everything like that. I believe we're a part of the universe and all that stuff. So I just kind of looked inside myself, and for my instincts, I, you know, said a prayer or two, and I just got the idea to look up. I got it from looking at how independent artists would do their music.
Really?
Yeah, and not for nothing, there's a rapper, his name is Slim Thug. They're from Texas.
Yes.
And I just looked at how him and Lil Duval, I looked at how they would make their stuff, or, you know, he would make his music, or Lil Duval would make his content in Florida or in Texas for a fraction of the price, because the tri-state area is crazy expensive.
Right.
You pay like $3,000 for a cardboard box, pretty much. Right. So they were able to do this, cut down on overhead, and then they had money to travel to go promote whatever it is they were doing, do shows, or, you know, do tours, put together tours, because they had the extra capital from not having to spend a bunch of money to make what they make. So then I thought about, that was the big reason in helping my reservations. Like I could easily fly back up here. It's $200.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but it's going to cost me more to stay here and make it than to get to Florida, get set up, make it, and then fly up here to promote it.
Right.
You took your real estate license, like, you know.
Yes, that's another thing. Like,
you know what costs.
Yeah, I'm looking at MLSs, and I'm like, yo, in order to get a studio and like how I want it to look and all this stuff, I want it to be professional as possible. It's cost a pretty penny versus looking in Florida, starting how I started.
Right.
So my reservations were put to rest because of my conviction and getting back. One, to warm weather,
and sunshine.
Yeah, and two, to really helping the people that I grew up around. Yeah, and seeing what else, you know, that I missed. You know, then I came back, and Gainesville is like this place of this launching pad for ideas of all kinds now.